Hello everyone, Bart here with Volair Sim. Today we're going to show you how to assemble your Volair Sim cockpit. So let's begin. First things first, this gigantic box that arrived via UPS to your house, take time to unpack everything carefully, undo the bubble wrap and kind of lay it all out on the floor wherever you're going to assemble it. Make sure that you count all the parts and compare it to the printed instructions that we gave you, that nothing is missing. However, if you think that there might be a screw or two missing, don't be alarmed just yet, because some of the fasteners that are listed in the manual are actually already pre-installed on the cockpit. So don't feel alarmed until you go through the whole assembly process. But do make sure that all of the hardware is here, like all of the components to the chassis. So let's begin with the assembly, and we're going to follow the assembly just like in the printed manual. So step 1 on the video is going to be step 1 in the printed instructions. Step 1. Step 1 is to attach the monitor support base to the seat base. Monitor support is where your avionics table and the monitors obviously are going to attach to, and the seat base is where your seat and the side mounts are going to attach. In order to do that, you will need to locate those two tubes. You will notice that they have a little adjustment boss welded onto that, and they have a little, they narrow down here, 2 of those, and then 2 straight little short tubes. They're just smooth, there's nothing attached to them. You're gonna locate 2 of those M8x16 plumb handle screws, and you're going to find 4 M8x16 hex screws. It's really easy. All you do is you slide this in here, the short tube, you're going to slide inside of this tube, do it like that on the other side, and then you just attach the seat base like so. And everything at this point, you just want to do finger tight, because you're going to adjust the seat depending on how tall you are, and that's the whole idea behind this adjustability. And then what you want to do is you want to put the hex screws in here and in the back here by the seat base. And you want to put the plumb handles right here, so that later on when you get the whole chassis assembled, you can figure out how do you want to stretch it, and then you will tighten everything with a hex wrench and then with your hands. Step 2. Step 2 is attaching the rudder pedal or the throttle pedal base to the chassis. First thing you gotta do is take this chassis that we just assembled, flip it upside down like I did here, and then grab this rudder pedal base. Notice that this support's already attached. At the factory, you might want to tighten these lug nuts a little bit more, because they're just finger tight here. And then what you're going to do is locate M6x30mm hex screws, and then you're going to get the appropriate lug nuts, slide the hex screw like so. I have to lift it up a little bit with one hand. Slide it like so from one side, and then from the other side. You can just let it drop now. Take these lug nuts, obviously tighten them. In this step, you want to do all of these lug nuts with this handy dandy wrench that we gave you. You want to tighten it pretty good. This can be tightened, but don't over tighten it, otherwise you won't be able to adjust it up and down. The whole idea here is, you can see these detents here on the base. This allows you to rotate the pedal base up and down. So if you tighten it too much, you're not going to be able to adjust it. Before we move to step 3, one thing I wanted to point out. First thing is, if you are planning to use it for racing and you are using a Logitech G27 pedals, or any kind of pedals for that matter that you're thinking about permanently mounting to this plate, you might want to do it now before you flip it back upside to the normal position. It's going to be just much easier to do it now as opposed to later, where you're going to have everything else attached to this cockpit and you would have to lift the whole thing up. For Logitech G27 you need M6 by 1mm bolts, and you just can get them at any hardware store, and the holes are already pre-drilled. You need 4 of those to attach the pedals. We recommend 4. You can do more than that if you'd like. Other pedals, it depends what they use, but this would be a good time to attach them. For rudder pedals and for flying, typically what we recommend is you use the Velcro strips that we provide, and you can do that later after the whole thing is completed. The only time you need to worry about it again is if you're thinking about permanent installation where you're trying to bolt this on with bolts. Step 3 is really easy and straightforward. You're going to locate these plastic lug nuts, slide them on top of this monitor support base like so, and then you're going to take your center monitor support and you're going to slide it right in here. Like so. Make sure that this plate faces you, not the other way, because that's where your center monitor is going to be bolting onto. And by the way, this is pre-drilled for Visa compliant monitors, and we do give you the bolts for the monitors because they all use the same bolts. And then here, I'm just going to demonstrate. Later on you'll be able to adjust the height of the whole thing and then tighten it. So for right now, just get it to whatever height you want and then just finger tighten it. Later on, when you have the other monitors and everything attached, you can slide this up and down. Helps if you step on it to prevent it from moving, and then use, after you're done, then you just really tighten it pretty well with your hands, and that's gonna make the height of the monitors. Step 4. Here we're going to attach the Avionics or steering wheel support table to these 2 support tubes. In order to do that, you will need 4 M6 by 35 millimeter hex screws and the appropriate lug nuts. The only thing I would mention here is make sure that the front bar of these 2 support tubes faces the front of the table, and the front of the table is where the row of the pre-drill holes are. This is where the Avionics will mount to. The other thing that I would mention is this allows you to adjust the angle of the table, and it also has 3 sets of holes here on these tubes, and the reason that we've done it this way is so that you can mount this table so it is a little closer to you when you're sitting in the chair or a little farther away depending on your preference. We typically recommend that you attach the 2 rearmost, or use the 2 rearmost holes, and by rearmost I mean the 2 holes that are closest to this base of the structure, and then if you think you're sitting a little too close, you can always undo it and then move it to the next set of holes. And in this step you want to tighten it, relatively well with the Allen key and this wrench that we gave you, so that this table doesn't wobble around and everything. Later on you can loosen it up and then you can start playing with the angle once you got your steering wheel or the yoke and Avionics mounted. Step 5. We're going to attach this Avionics / Worktable to the base. Again, locate these adjustable lug nuts, slide them here, like so. Then take this whole table assembly that you completed in the prior step and slide it in here. Again, as you notice, just like everything else, later on you'll be able to adjust the height and the distance and then tighten it permanently. For now, just leave it, snug. Step 6. In this step, we are going to attach the seat support brackets to the seat base. In order to do that, you will need M8 by 35 millimeter hex bolts and these flange nuts. They're M8 also. This side I already kind of did it just to show you, but I will show you how to do this side. They're the same. You put it like this, take this bolt, slide it through this hole in the base, take the flange nut and tighten it from the back. Just do it finger tight for now. To the other side as well. Flange nut on the inside. And again, you can use your handy dandy wrench here to tighten everything up. In this step, you want to tighten everything up permanently because we're not going to adjust these brackets after they're tightened. Step 7. In this step, we are going to begin attaching the seat to the seat base. In order to do this, you will need to locate two of those seat support brackets. Notice that this is a new style bracket. It's got an additional bracket here underneath it, or channel if you will. This is for the brand new feature that we have with Volair to allow you to mount a center support or center joystick support. This is going to go between your legs as you're flying an airplane that has a center stick. If you have an older style Volair, it will look like this. See, the channel here in the middle is missing. But fear not, because the rest of the assembly is the same. And if you do buy the center support mount for your Volair that didn't come with it, we will provide you the new brackets in the kit. So everything is going to work just fine. You just need to be aware of the subtle changes that we have. Before you attach these brackets to the cockpit, you might want to thread these plumb handles, M8 by 16 plumb handles, and then just get them started. You know, don't tighten them, so that they're there before you attach the rest of this of the cockpit. And here I'm going to put all three because I'm going to show you how the center mount works. And then you would do the same thing on the back one. And then to attach it, you would take your M8 by 35 millimeter hex bolt, and you run it from the top here, and you use the outermost bolt holes, the outer one, not the inner ones. Run it from the top like this. Take your flange nut, M8 flange nut, and run it from the bottom. And in this step, you might need to use a little force, because what you might have to do is slightly bend these brackets outward to align these holes. Because normally these brackets are kind of bending inwards, but you need to bend them with your hand like so. And don't worry, this is pretty heavy duty stuff. And see, drop that bolt in there like so, and then you can attach everything with these step 8. This step is a little tricky, so I am going to take extra time and walk you through it carefully. In this step, you attach what is known as slider or sliders that allow you to slide the seat forward and backwards to the bottom of the seat. In order to attach this, you will need the two sliders. One of them has a handle, and that's going to go on the left side of the seat, or in this orientation we're going to put it on the top. And the other one doesn't have anything, it just slides, and that's going to go on the bottom. You will need M8 by 20 millimeter hex bolts, 4 of those, and these little dish-like looking spacers. And what that does is, you put this dish spacer right here, you run the bolt through it like so. Alright, maybe you can zoom on this particular step so this is pretty visible here. But what you need to do is you need to run this bolt through the slider, put the spacer like so, and then you can attach this to the seat. And inside of the seat, you will notice it's a little hard sometimes to see, but there are holes already drilled in all these 4 places, and there's nuts on the back, so you don't need to worry about any nuts or anything like that. But what you would do is, once you put the first one in, then you have to use the handle and slide it, because the other hole is blocked here. So you need to slide this slider forward, and then you attach the back one. That's the tricky part. The other one is a little easier because you don't have a handle, so you can kind of slide it like this. So you can attach this part first, and then, you know, expose the other hole and attach it. Before we move to step number 9, which is attaching the left, center, and the right hand mounts, let's just review that we've got the underlying supporting seat structure assembled correctly. Starting with the left mount, you've got the slider here. This basically allows you to slide the left hand mount forward and aft, and that's supported by this just straight square tube. It's got a plumb handle underneath it to tighten it in place. And then the tube itself, the square tube itself, has got 2 plumb handles. Again, leave everything just kind of finger tight so you can slide it, because you're going to be adjusting it later after everything is assembled. The center mount, again, this is the new feature that we have with the Volair, and your seat might not have it. And if it doesn't, again, don't panic, because you can purchase this separately, and if you do, these cross braces will be provided to you. But again, this is just a square tube, with the only difference is that there is a plumb handle attached to it, and that needs to point downward. And that, by the way, goes for all these plumb handles here under the seat. They all need to be facing downward so that you can reach underneath it and later on and tighten and adjust them to your liking. Finally, the right hand mount here, this is where the articulated keyboard tray is going to attach to, and that's where the right hand mount is going to slide. Again, this is kind of an angle type of a piece. In order to slide it in, I recommend that you first stretch the chassis, stretch it out, so loosen the plumb handle, stretch it out so that you can slide it in from the forward, then you can adjust the seat, you know, you can shrink it again, and then you can cinch everything in place. As far as the mounts, let's start with the left hand mount. Left hand mount has got the two pieces. It's got this part that slides in here, okay, and then it's got this right angle that you can move it like this, or you can position it like this. This allows you, again, more configurability. For right now, I would just say that just make sure that you've got these parts identified, like so, and this plate, and maybe you just put them aside. Don't assemble them quite yet until you mount the seat onto the chassis, because, you know, it's going to be in a way. The center stick mount, again, it consists of the following pieces. It's got this piece that would slide right in here. It's got a slightly different attachment here. This is not at a right angle bracket, but it's got a little bit of a curve here. And that's so that when you enter the cockpit, you don't accidentally hit yourself in your knees. So that's like so. And then the plate here is much smaller, and it's rounded here. And that's pre-drilled for the Thrustmaster HOTAS, and then for Saitek X-52 and 65. And that slides in like so. And again, just make sure you've got these parts identified. But what I would do is just leave them detached for now, set them aside, because you're going to be attaching the seat first. And then again, the right hand mount consists of this component here, right angle bracket here, that you can put like this. This will slide like so. Again, this can be pointed forward or backwards depending how you would like it. And again, you can play with this all this later. And this right hand plate would slide in like so. Again, this is pre-drilled for your shifter, for the Logitech G27, and it's also pre-drilled for obviously the Saitek throttles and the trim, and then also for the Thrustmaster HOTAS system. Again, for right now, just identify these pieces and put them aside, because really you want to have as much room as possible to bolt your seat in the next step, and then after you put your seat in, then you can tighten everything up. Step 10 is attaching the monitors. You've got two options here. Option number one is just use the center monitor, and in this case you would attach the monitor to this bracket here. It's VISA compliant, which means the monitor should have 4 holes already in the back of it, and all you do is just use the little silver screws that we provide you in a kit. There's little silver screws, and they also have a little washers with them in the little bag. So once you find those, you don't have to buy anything, you just connect them. There's 4 of those per monitor. And you can mount up to 52-inch, believe it or not, 52-inch monitor if you're only using one of them. So this is going to be this gigantic screen in front of you. If you're using 3 monitors, then you can use up to 30-inch monitors, and you just attach them to these brackets first. What I would do is just put the monitor flat, facing down on something soft like a blanket, and then you just attach this bracket. But pay attention that this handle faces up. So the top of the monitor would be right over here, and the handle would be facing up. And then all you gotta do is adjust these to your liking. And this is the difference between Volair and some of the other systems out there. We really try to make it super easy to adjust the monitors, so that when you position the 3 monitors, you should have no gap between the monitors, and the top of the monitor should be perfectly flat. And the way you do this is you adjust this by sliding this arm in and out from this mount, and then you also slide your monitor on this, like so. And that's all you really need to do. Once you got everything positioned, and obviously adjust the height of the whole assembly, then you just tighten up these plumb handles. And if the monitors are adjusted properly, again, there should be no gap between the bezels of the monitors, and the top of the monitor should be perfectly level and perfectly flat. You can also use a little straight edge with a little bubble, if you have it at home, just to put it on top of the monitor and make sure that the monitors are actually perfectly horizontal, that they're not a little bit of a little crooked, because you can do that. If this thing is not adjusted right, you know, maybe the monitors are not perfectly level. But that's all you really need to do, and after you've got the monitors aligned, just cinch everything down and you can move to the next step. Step 11. In this step, you are going to assemble the articulated keyboard tray. It's really pretty straightforward. The articulated keyboard tray will sit right in here, and it would spin 360 degrees, and it also will swivel in and out. So when you sit in your seat, you can move it in your position. To assemble it, all you need is the tray itself, this round tube with a little pad welded to the top of it, this nylon washer, white nylon washer, and this large silver lock nut. It's a little different than the other lock nuts in the kit because it doesn't have a flange attached to it, so that's how you identify it. You would also need this little bag of silicone grease that we provided, and don't forget your trusty wrench. So what you would do is you just smear a little bit of this grease here around this stud here on the base of the keyboard, and then cover this pad also with the grease. Don't go crazy, just a thin layer is enough. Put this washer like so, put this tube like so, and then attach this lock nut, and then take your wrench and just cinch it. But don't go crazy here, because if you tighten it too much, then this thing is not going to rotate freely. So you want to have a little bit of resistance so the thing doesn't spin wildly on you, but you want you want this thing to be able to rotate freely. And don't worry about this thing loosening up. That's why we made all these nuts, lock nuts, so that they have this nylon insert. It will not loosen with time, I promise you. So just get it nice and tight. Make sure it rotates freely. Flip it up, and then insert it into your chassis, like so. And again, this is just maybe a trial fit until you assemble the seat. Maybe you want to leave it off for now, but I'm just going to show you. This nut here allows you to adjust it up and down. See? And then, you know, you can tighten it, and once it's assembled, you know, this swivels like so. It's padded, so you don't need a mouse pad, and that's where your keyboard and mouse will be. So this is the assembly of the mouse keyboard tray. The last step here is attaching the seat itself to the support structure. This step is really pretty straightforward. You need 4 of this M8 by 35mm bolts and the flange M8 nuts. The way to do it, now pay attention, is you want to put these bolts from the bottom like this, and this little silver flange nut needs to sit in the channel of the slider. Remember the slider we did in a prior step that allows you to slide the seat forward and back? There will be a channel with a hole, and that flange nut is going to drop right in there. And the reason you do this is when you drop this flange nut in there, it will actually sit in this channel, it'll kind of lock itself in there, it will not spin around. So all you need to do is you take this Allen key and then tighten everything from the back or from underneath it, and you don't have to worry about holding this and preventing it from rotating. The way to do this also is do the rear ones first. Don't tighten them all the way, just get them started. Then use your slider, slide the seat all the way back. It will expose the 2 front channels and the 2 front screw holes, and then run the other 2 again from the bottom up. Put the flange nut on the top, and then tighten everything with the Allen key. This step is really pretty straightforward if you follow these hints here. And then this will basically position the seat, and then once you've got all the 4 bolts started, then you can tighten everything in place. Congratulations! You've just assembled your Volair Sim cockpit. Before we start adding the steering wheel or the avionics or the rest of the hardware, computer hardware, let's talk about the adjustability of the various mounts and various adjustability options here. So the left-hand mount, as we mentioned, slides back and forwards. You can flip it actually if you'd like. You can flip this bracket also like this, so you can have it 2 different options here. And then obviously up and down, and then you can just cinch it with this plumb handle. And then lastly, you can just slide the whole thing in and out. Same thing for the right hand mount. I'm just not going to show it because it's a little difficult to do it here, but it's the same kind of configurability. The articulated keyboard tray rotates, okay, and then you can move it up and down and then cinch it with this adjustment so that suits you here and clears this avionics table. The center mount here is where your joystick would be mounted to, and by the way, we have this thing pre-configured or pre-drilled for the Thrustmaster HOTAS. We've got it also pre-drilled for the Saitek X-52 and X-65 joysticks. So for those three options, you don't have to drill any holes, just bolt it in. And then again, it adjusts up and down. It moves forward and aft so that you can have it positioned after you move your seat into the position in just the right way to put your joystick on. The seat itself obviously slides forward and backwards, and the angle adjusts, you know, to almost a flat horizontal position to suit you the way you like to be seated here. The avionics table, we talked about it already. It slides, the whole thing slides up and down here, so you can bring it closer to you, or you can bring it farther away, and then it tilts. I've got this thing cinched in pretty good, so I'm not going to show you this option, but you can loosen those 4 bolts and then you can tilt this whole thing. And then, let's see, what else? Last but not least is the rudder pedal tray. We give you these 2 strips, those are Velcros, so you just separate them and put one on your pedals, whether that's rudder pedal or it's racing pedals, and then you can put the pedals here and attach them with these Velcros that we provide. And believe it or not, that's a pretty actually secure option. They actually stay in put pretty well. If you would like, we also give you a pre-drilled options for the Logitech G25, G27. The holes are pre-drilled in there as well for some other pedals. And then you can look all of the specs on our website. And then finally, you know, this tray has several detents, so you can adjust the angle, whether you want to keep it horizontal or you can have it more on a vertical orientation. I think this is about it as far as the adjustability. Obviously the whole thing, the whole chassis stretches, so that was mentioned in step number 1 in this video. So don't forget the fact that you need to tighten all these plumb handles. And then lastly, once you get everything kind of positioned the way you want, go under the seat and tighten all the plumb handles that are under the seat. And then everything is going to be pretty solid. As far as attaching the steering wheel, let me just tell you one more thing here, is that if you're using the Logitech G27, the holes are already pre-drilled here, and there are 2 holes in here, and there are holes pre-drilled in the whether you're using left-hand drive or the right-hand drive. They're pre-drilled in both of these side plates and the pedals, but you will need to purchase the bolts separately. And if you go on our website in the frequently asked questions section, you will see all of the specs for the bolts. Thank you for watching this video. Send us your comments and suggestions at www.volairsim.com. Enjoy your cockpit. Thank you very much.